Well, we had a week off and now we're straight back into the action, but this time for the Austrian Grand Prix. Now, the Red Bull Ring, as it's more affectionately known, is obviously a hometown race for Red Bull. But since its reintroduction onto the Formula One calendar back in 2014, it has often treated us with some of the most exciting race weekends. You only have to go back 12 months and we had that tremendous battle between Max Verstappen and, of course, Lando Norris. Now, speaking of Lando Norris, this is a big weekend for him. The debacle that was Canada, the DNF, the contact with his teammate. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how he can bounce back from such a terrible weekend. And then, of course, Max Verstappen, he still has that penalty hanging over him. He's won here plenty of times. And then, of course, Mercedes. George Russell, the race winner last time out in Canada, backed up with a magnificent P3 podium for Kimi Antonelli. Well, Mercedes will be wanting to prove that that wasn't a track-specific performance and that they can build on and carry some momentum from Canada. Now, we've got some reports coming out for upgrades for this weekend, most notably Mercedes, Red Bull, and finally, maybe some good news for those Ferrari fans. A couple of rookies are going to be on display in FP1, McLaren with Alex Dunn and Ferrari with Dino Beganovic. Now, we're expecting nice sunny weather, probably around the temperatures of 30 degrees Celsius, so expecting a hot race. Pirelli is bringing the C3, C4, C5, so they're not opting to go for the softest compound, but I still expect a two-stop race. Now, without further ado, let's just jump straight into it, and why not start with Red Bull since it's their home race? Now, nothing changes on Max Verstappen's side. We know he's won here plenty of times. Yes, he has a penalty lingering over him, but he won't approach this weekend any differently. If there's a gap open, he's going to go for it. If there's an opportunity, he's going to take it, regardless of outcome. But on the other side of the garage, well, that's where the pressure is. Yuki Tsunoda, he hasn't shown enough progression so far. I know I keep banging on about it week to week, but he needs to show that he can close that gap in performance on Max Verstappen. We know about Arvid Lindblad waiting on the sidelines, granted his super license, and reports have just come out that he just finished up some testing out in Imola, driving the AT04 Formula One car, so obviously an AlphaTauri car. So clearly, it's pretty obvious that they are preparing Arvid Lindblad for that next step. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Lindblad step in for some FP1 performances coming up over the next few race weekends. But we know that the summer break or the midsummer break is coming up. And despite a lot of optimism coming out in the press about Yuki Tsunoda's position within the team, if they do make a mid-season change, well, there would be no surprises there. Of course, everything depends how things mold around with Liam Lawson over at VCARB as well. But I expect Red Bull to be in the mix. I mean, I don't know what Yuki's going to bring, but Max, come Saturday, he's going to be in pole position talks. And of course, with Sunday, win or a podium. I don't think they expect anything else. What could be interesting, the upgrades that Red Bull plan to bring. Max and Yuki have struggled with the car. Max has been complaining recently about the corner exit oversteer, the snap. So these upgrades that they're looking to bring, which is new floor geometry, rear suspension tweaks, and cooling engine cover refinement. But they'll be aiming to fix that little gremlin that they have in that Red Bull car. So let's keep a close eye on that, how that one turns out. Moving on to McLaren, obviously a lot of eyes are on McLaren for this weekend. Lando Norris, that's where the focus is going to be. Now, the interesting thing is Alex Dunn, F2 driver, is going to come in and replace Lando Norris for FP1. Now, some may think that that is going to be detrimental for Lando and his weekend going forward, but I scoff at that because Lando, look, he's experienced now. He's a more than capable driver. I don't think missing FP1 is going to be detrimental to his race weekend. Now, if Alex Dunn goes out and totals the car and then compromises FP2 for Lando, well, then that's another story. But ideally, I don't think there'll be an issue there. Lando, though, he needs to refocus, reestablish himself. We know he's quick enough. He's fast enough. Yes, a lot of people are riding him off already. It's not even the midway point through the season. And it's only, 20-odd points behind in the championship. Now, Oscar Piastri on the other side, well, it'll be interesting to see how he approaches things moving forward, now that he's established a little bit of a gap now in the championship, that does he think a little bit different, taking bigger risks? Does he start thinking about DNFs and not picking up points? Look, I think he's championship material. He's got the right attitude. He's unflappable, his personality, etc. I don't think he'll have a problem. But look, both McLarens are going to be in the talk for pole, I believe, on the Saturday, and of course, be both looking for podiums come Sunday. Now, Mercedes winners last time out. Again, they'll be looking to build on that momentum. Now, they're bringing some upgrades, which I think will be quite interesting. Mercedes' problems have been pretty straightforward in the sense of what the issue is. That has generally been tire deg. And, they'll be the first to admit that they don't like the hot conditions. What they're bringing this week is minor floor reworking, front wing end plate revisions, and rear beam and wing tweaks. So, naturally, if they can get on top of that, they'll have a lot to gain. So it'll be interesting to see how things pan out from FP1. George, he'll be in the mix, of course. He's just driving the lights off. There's a lot of rumors out there speculating about where he's going to be for 2026. I still believe that he'll be at Mercedes. I think they'll make an announcement at his home Grand Prix at the next race in Silverstone. I think everything will be locked and loaded there. Kimi Antonelli, great podium, first podium, last race out. I think he'll build on that. I think he's got a clear head now. There's no more exams, school, all that type of stuff, all done and dusted. And now he can focus 100% moving forward on just driving it. And I expect him to do pretty well this weekend. If you're a Ferrari fan, if they do bring these upgrades as reported, I think you're going to be pretty excited about it. We know that car has struggled with the rear ride height. It's been an issue. And to get that car into that performance window, it's super narrow. When they do get it in there, it operates pretty well. But operating in that window has come few and far between most races. We've seen Hamilton win a sprint race in China when everything was going well. We've seen some good performances out from Charles Leclerc with a few podiums. On race pace, in the window, it's pretty damn competitive. If they can get Saturday sorted, well, they may be a bit of a dark horse this weekend. What they're reportedly bringing is the revised rear suspension, new floor and diffuser, and some cooling adjustments. We've had a lot of speculation about this big upgrade coming for quite some time. Now, we know Ferrari need a big one. They need a big performance here. There's been a lot of rumors coming out regarding Fred Vasseur and his job. Even stories about Charles Leclerc. He's not super happy. He may want out. Again, rumors. Who knows what's true, what isn't. We know for sure that Lewis Hamilton has been pretty disappointed with what upgrades have been promised that haven't come. So perhaps this may be the turning point of the season. Let's see and find out. I just don't really know until that is locked in that that's definitely coming. If they do get on top of it, well, sure, Ferrari might just surprise us a little bit this weekend. FP1 for Ferrari is going to be taken over by Dino Beganovic. So again, much like Lando Norris, I don't think this compromises Charles's weekend whatsoever. He's too good. He's too experienced for that. Again, as long as Dino brings that car home clean in FP1, I don't think there'll be any issues for Charles Leclerc's weekend. Now on to Williams. Big news that has come out. I did make a video about this, and that is a contract extension for team principal James Vowles. Look, I think this is magnificent news if you are a Williams F1 fan. They're currently in an upward trajectory. I think that'll continue under James Vowles' leadership. And of course, having two established drivers that are locked in for next year. I just think when you look around the grid and all the instability from some of the other teams, Williams, definitely their future looks bright. Now, last few races have been pretty scrappy, I would say, particularly on Alex Albon's side of the garage. Carlos Sainz has had a little bit of bad luck with, the last race out getting impeded. I think he would have had a much better race weekend in Canada. But for Alex, a retirement last time out, he'll be looking to bounce back. I think Williams will be very disappointed if it's not double points for this weekend. So I definitely expect them both in the top 10. Now, Racing Bulls, V-Carb, whatever you want to call them, this is almost like a de facto home race for them. Now, Liam Lawson, he needs a big performance. He's been a bit too inconsistent. his Saturdays just haven't been up to par in relation to Isaac Hadjar, and that's where he is basically losing his battle with his teammate. Still showing potential at times, and he's been showing enough quickness through the practice sessions. I expect him to turn around Saturday, but he does need a big one. There is an element of pressure on Liam's shoulders with Arvid Lindblad, just like I was discussing with Yuki Tsunoda. Although I think Yuki is under more pressure, but look, Liam, he needs to perform a lot more consistently and start picking up some points. Isaac, on the other hand, well, he's just got to keep doing what he's doing. I hope he doesn't get the promotion to Red Bull this season. I'd just rather see him just keep grinding out and doing what he's doing because he's doing a fantastic job. Last time out for both cars in Canada, bit of a disappointment overall. Yes, Isaac did show pace in qualifying, hit Q3, of course. Strategy killed it. Liam, on the other hand, obviously had the DNF. So big bounce back expected here for RB. Now, on to Aston Martin. Now, there's been some news that has come out regarding Fernando Alonso's future and speculation surrounding that. We've also got the Max Verstappen rumors and the $1 billion contract and all that. But Andy Cowell, the team principal over at Aston Martin, has emphasized that Fernando Alonso remains central to the team's future plans. Now, Aston Martin, they've definitely showed an improvement since some of the upgrades they bought a few races back. Fernando Alonso, he's 2-point scoring races in a row now. This weekend, he's more than capable of a top 10. The performance increases there at Aston Martin are, I would say, quite promising. Lance Stroll on the other side, well, you just don't know what you're going to get from Sir Lancelot. Now, Haas, Ocon, look, he looks comfortable with that team now, leading from the front. That's why he was signed, to absolutely do that job. Haas, we talk about the pendulum team. 1 week they score points, 1 week they're just totally out of it. Well, Ocon picked up points last week, and well, so if we go by that form, it's going to be a horrendous week. But in all seriousness, I think Ocon, he's got a chance for top 10. There's a bit of form coming in there and momentum for him. Ollie Behrman on the other side, well, look, he just needs to, he's been a bit scrappy lately. The last few Grand Prix have been scrappy. I think in the grand scheme of things, we know he's quick enough. We know that he has a high ceiling, lots of potential there, but he'll be just looking to consolidate a nice, clean performance. Now, Kick Sauber, again, a little bit like Aston, some of the upgrades that they've bought in over the last few races have definitely improved the car. Hulkenberg again in the points. He's looking mighty handy, and I think that really does bode well, obviously, for Audi for next year. Bortoletto on the other side, I think he's getting on top of the car now, and yeah, he's one of the few drivers that's still on 0 points, but I expect him to be in some point-scoring positions in the upcoming races, particularly with the performance increase that we've seen with Kick Sauber. I think he's good enough. Look, he's a reigning Formula 2 champion. He's got the pedigree. He'll surprise some of us over the next few Grand Prix. Will they be in the points this week? Well, look, they're still definitely one of the back markers, of course, but they definitely have the car that may just surprise a few. And that leaves us, of course, with Alpine. So this is another team that has, well, a lot of speculation around it. I'll start off with Franco Colapinto. He comes in, replaces Doohan, and we're told it's a 5-race stint. Obviously, Flavio Briatore has now retraced those comments, and he has actually just come out recently in defense of his driver, Franco, which is good to see, of course, but you just never know what you're going to get with Flavio running the mix over there. Now, I think Franco Colapinto, even if it is a 5-race stint, if he has a good weekend this week, I think he's got a chance to stay on because, look, the first few races were a little bit underwhelming. And sure enough, like it's a tough gig just coming into a new Formula One car and getting on top of it. I mean, we're still seeing Lewis Hamilton getting on top of that Ferrari car. Carlos Sainz, it took him a while too. So I don't think it's a matter of just coming in straight away and being super quick. I think for Franco's case, it was all about coming in, keeping your nose out of trouble, which unfortunately he didn't do initially, but just show that there is a rate of trajectory to the upside. Canada, he showed that. And so it is a really big one for Franco. Whether or not it is a 5-race contract or not, we know that Flavio has the capability just to throw a curveball, demote a driver, promote a driver, etc. So Franco hasn't shown enough yet overall, the full races, but he made the step in the right direction in Canada, and I expect him to do the same this weekend in Austria. Now, Pierre Gasly, this is where it gets a little bit funny as well, because we know how good Gasly is, but he has had a few lackluster races this year. Canada was probably one of his worst in a long time. And then all of a sudden, we're getting speculation about his job security at Alpine. You just never know what you're going to get there, really. I mean, look, I think it's all a lot of hot air. Gasly is class. I think he'll bounce back this week and he'll show really what he's made of. So there you have it. The Austrian Grand Prix. Let's see what we get. Again, I'm predicting a stonker of a race. Will we see some controversy? Well, we seem to get it here. I'd love to know what you guys think. You know, straight off the cuff, I'm just thinking it's going to be Max P1, Oscar P2, Lando P3. But hey, look, I've very rarely been right about any of my predictions, so I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you like our content, of course, hit that like button, subscribe. It is nice. We're really aiming to get to 50 subscribers, so if you feel generous and you like our stuff, definitely hit the subscribe button. And I'll be back post-race, of course, and hopefully we have a lot to talk about. And until then, catch you on the next one.